We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. Today's episode we have Will Combs with us. He's an entrepreneur and a friend of mine. We've actually done some business together in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And, where are you from, Will, originally?
I actually grew up in Eden, North Carolina, which is 45 minutes away. Small town. Textiles, Miller Brewing. Used to be, but
Right, yeah.
yeah.
All those small towns, yeah, they used to have a lot of big manufacturing in this area, and it's all gone now mostly.
Yeah, it's gone. They've actually done a really good job, the city of Eden and the council, trying to revitalize certain parts of downtown Eden, Washington Street in particular. Now they're moving on to an area called the Boulevard. They were dilapidated buildings, and now they're finally giving incentives. The city's going in there, fixing the buildings up, putting businesses and small business in there, which helps community, which helps grow everything else. So
great,
they've
yeah.
been very proactive the last couple of years doing that.
We had an artist on recently, Jenna Rice.
Mm-hmm.
She's been doing some mural work up there.
Yeah, they had, I think the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple of artists that have been doing murals. I think one of them was on the side of the movie theater, and then now I think they did one on the Boulevard as well. I saw them setting up and painting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it seems to be a popular thing in the last couple of years, and it's pretty cool too. You know, give artists a chance to showcase their work and have a display piece and somewhere people to stop by, take pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with after COVID, I think a lot of these small towns may start to do a little better because I'm guessing a lot of the office buildings and stuff are, or that business model of having everybody in one center, one office, renting these big office spaces is kind of going away because they don't really need to do it. So you can work from home now. So I think some of these small towns, people will just be more likely to move where it's cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, you see that a lot. You're starting to realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to live close to the office as much. That commute, whether it be 15 minutes or be an hour,
Yeah.
if you have the means to do it, you can move somewhere else that you're more comfortable with. You can raise your family. It depends on what type of your values that you have and what you want around you at all times.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen a split model here recently too, with certain corporations going back. They'll do 2 or 3 days in the office, or the rest remote. Some are permanently remote. I mean, it's a business model as far as the cost,
Yeah.
as far as what they're having to do. And then you have these buildings that may no longer be used for
Right,
office
yeah.
work. So
Yeah.
you got to move on to the next thing. Let's see how we can fill that building.
Probably see a lot more of the office centers where it's where they do a lot of private leasing or leasing to smaller entrepreneurs, shared spaces and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe that, or as everything goes digital and you've got the need for storing product, it may be a lot of these big spaces, these 50,000 square foot floors.
Yeah.
Maybe it ends up being like little mini Amazons.
That's true. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's a concern I know on the commercial side as far as landholders and people that corporations. Like, how are we going to keep releasing these buildings, because the models change? We have to do something with this space.
Right.
For myself, I'm starting to look at a commercial space, or actually try to build something, because I need somewhere to keep all my equipment that I have for my business.
Right.
I don't want to keep leaving around the house. It doesn't look too good, but just a secure place too. But now with the boom of everything, it's a matter of, all right, where can I find one? How far away it's going to be? Is it convenient to where I live? Which brings back to the small town.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
what we have here and what we could have where I grew up is two totally different things.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously you can be on top of another, your neighbor, but where you have more land and more space, some more quality of life. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a non-physical job, if you work for a company and you do office work, then it's all digital. Most commerce is digital now in that aspect. So, but for like you have a physical retail business. It's mobile,
right.
which makes a difference. But if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So what I did is I started a company, Proper Pour Events. It's a mobile bar and catering service. I've been in the restaurant bar business since I was 18 years old. I loved it. I knew as soon as I started, that's what I wanted to do. I started working with some guys back in '98. Matthew and Joey Maloney, they owned In Club, which parlayed to Red Room, Much, Heaven, Sky, Mix, 913. So I always loved that, but also knew that at some point the party kind of stops. You kind of age out of it. So I got to have another income stream somewhere. So I looked at, I actually kind of fell into a corporate job from meeting people that came in. So I've had a corporate job in finance on the mortgage side for 14 years. But I've always kept the restaurant and the bar side as well, because again, I really do love it. It is challenging. It's one of the toughest business you'll ever do. Anytime when you're dealing with people's food or drinks, it's just, everybody has an opinion and it's got to come out. You try to do the best you can and, make sure that the food is perfect, good quality, you have good, good staffing. There's a lot of turnover in that business as well. So dealing with that, I knew that the bar side was my bread and butter as far as cocktails, bourbons, just drinks in general, because everybody, when people go out, they want to have a good time. They don't want to think about their job during the day. They want to release. They don't want to go somewhere and see somebody complaining or see somebody having a bad day, like, come up to you, hey, what can I get for you? Like,
Yeah.
you're already kind of setting the tone. You want to de-escalate a situation before you even get there. So it's just, hey, how you doing today? Just what can I do for you? Having those conversations with people. I've met some of the most amazing people in my life from behind the bar, in that setting that I'd never meet before. I've gone to some amazing places in the world because of that as well. Coming from a small town, it's very eye-opening to see all walks of life, people that you meet, finding out what they do, and then realizing those, the people that you meet aren't that different than you. They just went down a different path, or this event changed their career, and to see them be successful, it makes you realize, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
So with the with the mobile bar side, I actually got tired of doing some private events, carrying everything in and out. And it's cliche, but one night we'd always go to Slice of Life. I'd take Anthony, the guy that was my right-hand guy at 913. We would go out there, we have a drink, slice of pizza. We actually had people 3 nights in a row asking us to do private events, come off site to do things. And that night, like, hey, we'll talk about it, trying to figure it out. I was like, there's got to be a way to do this, to do a mobile bar. And so we started looking up, go on Instagram, Google, start typing in mobile bars, and, you start seeing things. And again, realizing that it's already out there. I can do this.
Yeah.
I know how to build. I know how to design. I know what works from being behind the bar. I just got to figure out how to find one in the process to do that. And what's interesting is I started seeing a lot of horse trailers, the mobile bars that they did, but they were in England.
Yeah.
So I would see that, and it makes sense from their culture and, horse riding and everything else. So I started seeing that. Then I started seeing more of the camper style mobile bars here in the States, Airstreams. I really like the Airstream, but the more I started looking into it, it was a cost. It was
expensive.
Yeah, it was a cost thing associated with it. The ones that I did find that I would like is a specific model. They're called the Bambis. They're smaller, 16 to 19 feet, which is perfect. But those are also really, really popular as well with campers, because you can hook them up. You don't need a bigger truck to pull them because the gross weight on them. So by the time I was trying to look at the price on those and find a couple, the cheapest one I found was around 10 grand. It's like, maybe later on down the road. So I started looking at more of the horse trailers, and found a bumper pull, and it took me actually 4.5 months to find the one that I really wanted, just because it gets really tight really fast in a small confined space. So you have to make sure you design it a certain way to where you have room to move around and figure out what you really want to do. So yeah, I found one, started gutting it out within 4 weeks. It was done. It's one of those things. I found it. I just started working on it. I had a friend of mine help me build it, and he's a phenomenal carpenter. So I got to give him a lot of credit for it.
It looks incredible too, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of that, again, the carpentry works from one of my friends, Tom. He he was clutch. I mean, just the skill set that he had, and he'd stay up with me some nights 3 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
Funny story. I had an event booked on a Tuesday, 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday night. Let's say Tuesday morning, we were still in there hanging the copper ceilings that I had. The sheets of copper were in there hanging copper. I had an hour and a half sleep, got up, finished everything out, and had the event that afternoon at 1 o'clock in the morning. So again, if it wasn't for him, it'd have been rough.
Yeah.
It'd have taken me a lot longer. But inside of that, what I wanted to do is I started looking at other people's businesses and how they had their trailers. And once I like something or I see something that interests me, I get obsessed about it. I go down rabbit holes. I'll start looking at this. It's just how I've always been, whether it be a sport or a car or, business idea or, bourbon. I just go down rabbit holes and I don't stop. I just keep, trying to learn as much as I can. So during the whole build process, I had, all these pictures laid out, files saved on my computer. Like, all right, I like what they did. Knowing what I know as far as from being behind the bar, having a lot of people coming at a time, how can I design this? So inside of it, I actually have commercial refrigeration like you would see in any restaurant or bar, beverage coolers with slide systems in them, kegerator up front, slushy machine I can use, and I have another other little portable bars that I can use in conjunction with that if events are really big.
Yeah.
So having the commercial equipment in there really helps out a lot. That way I'm not having to, put beverages on ice, let them cool.
Right. Yeah. Hey, Jesse, can you pull up Will's Instagram page?
Yeah.
So with that, the other thing too is I was fortunate enough. I've had a corporate job for a long time, restaurant and bar, my income from that. So I spent quite a bit of money designing the trailer that I had, just so it's like, I want to go and do this now, kind of go over the top of things, and then I can modify things later. And that's what we did. So yeah, right there, that's what's right there. So that's a picture right there. So the
Scroll down a couple images.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So the outside is cedar. So I use a lot of cedar with it. Right from my dad retired from Miller, he would get off every day and go to some land that he owned, and he would start building a house. And he had a friend, and he went through the whole process correctly, but he had people to help him out as far as, hey, you need to do this, had inspectors. So, but he would go out 3 or 4 hours a day and start, get work done, get up, go to work, get up, do that. But his whole goal was not to have a house payment. So he worked overtime, got it done, is exactly what they wanted. But the cedar on that is from the actual land from my mom and dad's house.
Oh, that's cool.
So the exterior of my parents' house is cedar. Their neighbor just happens to have a sawmill.
But their house smells good.
Yeah. So their neighbor, he had a tree. They could drop trees and, get the wood for it. Well, when I was doing the trailer, I was asking my dad, I was like, hey, does Lane have any cedar or have any oak? I'm looking, he goes, well, I think I may have some left over from when we built the house. I was like, where is it? He goes, I think it's in the basement. I go down in the basement. It had been sitting down there for 12 years. So it's just laid flat, everything. So I had this beautiful red cedar wood that had been sitting there for over a decade. So I had just enough to clad the whole outside and partial inside of the trailer, and I maybe had 2 boards left. But that red cedar is from my family's land, and the bar top is live edge. So we took the 3 sheets and we joined them up for that, and it's permanent on that. And then on the inside is some barnwood and black walnut from the farm, from my family's land as well. So almost everything in there as far as the wood has been repurposed from family, and the trim work, everything. So with the wood and then the copper ceiling, it adds a lot of warmth to it. And at night, when you actually see the inside of the trailer, that the copper, it almost looks like a rose gold. Is beautiful. Cool. Because on the inside I made soffits going the whole length on the front and the back wall, and I had put LED lighting in it, so it's a warm white light. So when it shines, it just lights everything up. It's a really nice warm glow. It's comforting. It's like drawing a moth to a flame. It's like, all right, let's come up, let's grab a drink. So it's one of those things that it's inviting. It's not sterile. You can see a lot of that. If you go somewhere, you have a kind of, I hate saying it, but like a vibe to it as far as you go in. It's comforting, so people like it.
Yeah.
And I can serve 250 people out of that rig right there.
That's awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Now you've got another piece that goes with it too, right?
Right. So with that one, I actually I modified, and again, this is one of those things where I get obsessed about things, and I'll see other people's and what they're doing. The front hitch part, it kept bothering me a lot because it was just it was an eyesore.
Yeah.
So what I did is I actually built essentially like a little collapsible bar. It's a V-nose part that covers that.
Yeah.
We'll go to it in a second, but it's up under the gallery. So what it does is it's 5 feet long, and it covers the whole hitch part, but I can put stools and everything else around it. So it actually makes the trailer look even bigger than what it is. So it allows more people to come around it, sit around it, converse, have a drink, just have a good time. And then last year, the truck right there, I call that my diamond in the rough, because that truck right there, it'd been sitting in this older gentleman's garage in Chicago for 20 years. I found it.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I was talking to my friend Tom that helped me. I said, "Hey man, I found this truck, and this is what I want to do with it." I've seen them before. People do this, but I want to have another option, because to be able to grow the business, I wanted to be able to do multiple events, multiple days, same day. So I wanted another option for it, and I wanted to draw from a different demographic. So the horse trailer that goes good in a lot of places, especially around here. There's a lot of wedding venues that are barn setups that are more rural areas. But then again, you have really high end areas. Cadillac Service Garage, downtown Greensboro, beautiful setup. The gentleman owns that. When they redesigned it, wood, metal, a lot of organics, concrete. The truck goes better there because it's an old building.
Right.
The trailer wouldn't go as good there. I have done events there with it. But with the truck, I can hit almost every demographic. When I first got the truck, I had more hits on the truck than I had anything else I ever put out there or did. So, I mean, you can see it as far as when you're using social media, your insights, your algorithms, your analytics. I could see the touch points and everything.
Right.
That's when my eyes really opened up. But I got the truck. I kind of bought it sight unseen, to be honest with you.
You did good.
Yeah. So I flew up to Chicago. I met the guy, and I was just in awe. I couldn't believe it. It's like, this can't be real. Like,
Right.
that I'm getting this for the price that I paid for it. Met the guy, had a truck, delivery truck come up at the same time, loaded on the truck, drove it around. That was it. It's gone. And by the time I got back to High Point, it was here a couple hours later, the way we had everything set up.
Awesome.
But yeah, the truck's cool. I have a 6-tap system on it. And now with tap systems, you can do almost anything. I mean, you can do wine, beer, cocktails on tap.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can tap just about anything. Kombucha. So that's a cool little thing. And then a lot of people actually like using it for photos too. So, finding out, the more you get into a certain type of business and what people charge, it's an added benefit because, you have a classic truck you can take pictures in and possibly drive out on and not have to rent something else as well. So that's, you're getting not only the bar service and custom cocktails or, draft, but you also have another, I can say, prop to take pictures in and,
Right.
Have something to remind you of that date.
Yeah. Now, when did your entrepreneurial mindset start?
I was 12 years old.
Okay.
So growing up, like most people in small towns, family, middle class, blue collar. Mom worked for the school system. Dad worked for Miller. If we wanted something, we knew really early on, like you're just not going to get it.
Right. Yeah.
The favorite thing was, like, hey, it's too expensive, and we don't have enough money for it. Whether my parents did or didn't, that was an important lesson for me to learn early on, because it made me realize, like, if I want something, I'm gonna have to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
I understand not everybody's like that, but for me it clicked. So I started doing that, and then I had friends like growing up. You have friends that have things that you don't have or that you want, but you can't afford. So being able to try to get to that point or something similar, that really drove me to try to essentially make money.
Right.
I loved remote control cars. My first little business was when I was 12 years old. We had one of my friends, Mark. He had a backyard and he rode dirt bikes. We could never afford dirt bikes or four-wheelers. I had friends that did that, but I used to always go over there. I'd get on my BMX bike, ride over there, and then I had my remote control cars and truck. Well, he had a dirt track in his backyard, and we started driving our remote control cars. We're like, oh, you know what? We should have like a little remote control racetrack, call it M&W Raceway, and that's what we did. 12 years old, and then that parlayed. It's funny. My mom started noticing snacks started getting missing. All right, they were disappearing or being, eating more than others. And she realized what I was doing during school. We'd have snack time, like 15-minute break. I started taking the snacks and selling them because people would forget. So like a pack of Nabs crackers that was 25 cents, like, oh, it's $1 or 75 cents, or I can't remember what they were. I think they were the Fireball candies back in the day. We used to go to the stores, and I would buy them by the whole like fish bowl, because they were popular and people wanted them. It's like, all right, it's 25 cents, Yeah. And again, it was just, I know that sounds crazy, but when you're a kid and you want something, either you work for it or you steal it. And I was terrified of stealing something because I knew the consequences. Yeah. So I went that route, and it's just never stopped since. It's I worry about it sometimes because you always have a goal in place. One of the things that I wasn't taught, or other people that have been successful that I know, nobody ever told them the same thing. It's like, all right, hey, the goal is right here. All right, you get there, it's fantastic. That feeling only lasts a couple of days. Then it's like, all right, now let's do this. Get there, it's like, okay, I have that. Let's do this. It just doesn't stop. The goal line never stops. It just keeps getting pushed out forward. Some people
creating. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. So, I'm different than my sister. We're two completely different people. She works hard, but there's certain things that she likes to do, and then I've been told I'm crazy for the things that I do, because it's like, hey, when are you going to stop, or when are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know.
Can't.
Yeah, I don't think I can. It's one of those things I see. Yeah, and once you get to a point to where you're successful, more doors open up. But it's just but the part of being successful is I do believe is being in the right place at the right time, and having an ambition to do something and willingness to do things that other people wouldn't. Yeah. And that's a very important lesson to learn. And adversity creates that. There's not a lot of people that I know that grew up with a lot of things given to them, or struggles that have been successful. There's always people that do that, but the percentage is low that I've met personally. I may be completely wrong with this, but the people I knew that struggled and went through some dark times and hardships, it's rough going through it, but you come out on the other side, and then you have a better understanding of things, and you be able to deal with situations differently. So, what you may be an issue for you that you may be stressing out about, to the other person, like, man, this is nothing. Like, you don't.
It's perspective.
Yeah, it's your perspective, and that's their bubble. So that was hard for me to understand as well. Trying to deal with people when I was younger, it was like, what's your problem? Like, this is not a big deal, but to them, that's their whole world. So, it's again, like I said, perspective. That's a very good way.
Right, I both grew up poor, so we get it.
Yeah.
Now I'm guessing a lot of your interest in alcohol came from your dad's job working for Biller, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, but it was beer. So, but growing up, small town, the one thing that was great about Miller Brewing Company, every fall they had a family picnic. So during the fall, you bring your family out there. They had a whole carnival out there, barbecue, food, games, everything. So you see a lot of people drink, and it was a lot of people that did drink beer. And then not far away in Regional, you had I don't know if it was called this at the time, but it was Ball Manufacturing. They made the cans, aluminum cans, for a lot of Miller products. So drinking beer was that was a thing to do.
Is that the same company that made the Ball glass jars?
It might be, but at that plant, it was, I'm pretty sure it was actually, but at that plant, it was only aluminum cans. And the reason why I know that is when I was 18, I was able to get a job there for a summer. I was selected because my dad worked at Miller. He's like, hey, your kids, this might be a little introduction, and it helped out. And
Right.
That was my first real look at as far as manufacturing. 12-hour shifts, 3 days on, 4 off, 4 on, 3 off. It's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I realized like, oh, okay, this isn't for me.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. I just knew
Yeah.
it was like, all right, and the thing is, people look down on a lot of careers that people have, a lot of blue collar jobs, but Miller and Ball, they were union, so they were good paying jobs. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have known. And perception is everything. I'll get looked at sometimes like, you still do this, you're still behind the bar, and the people are very dismissive. But yeah, I like doing it. But they have no idea everything else I do or what it's done. Again, I'm grateful for this business. It's given me more things that I could ever imagine, and people that I've met.
Yeah, and you're not just a bartender; you're a bar master. Like you have a lot of knowledge.
I try. I mean, again, it's one of those things. It doesn't ever stop. I'll see something and like, oh, I don't have that. I don't know what it is. I'll look it up, or like, all right, it's like cooking. You have something. It's similar to cooking. You have the spice or this flavor profile. You try to mimic it in other ways.
It's like an art.
Yeah,
you're like a chef.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people that are a lot better than me, but it's just I got obsessed when I started buying the books, and I would have it set up. This was 6 years ago when I was on Instagram. I had it set to where there was certain pages that I would follow. They put out cocktails. It'd be alert on my phone come through like, hey, such just made a post, and I'd look at it. It's like, all right, that's kind of neat. I just had to get the knowledge, and the knowledge was there. But that was one of my best training manuals, was actually seeing what other people were doing from all around the world. Yeah. And it's neat what you can do as far as interactions, because now, again, with the analytics, I can see people or locations or countries where people are looking at my page, and when I do certain cocktails, sometimes I can see it, and it's amazing.
We're getting more and more connected. Yeah. So
we're more connected than ever as far as technology goes, like that way.
Yeah. Really cool.
So, but yeah, the cocktails, I just like doing them and having a good drink, and realizing that you can do a lot with cocktails. I mean, you can get super nerdy with cocktails and have a lot of things in there. My kind of approach to it is 3 or 4 ingredients, be done with it. Keep it simple, stupid. I try not to mess up too much.
Yeah.
So when I do a cocktail, it's usually 3 or 4 ingredients. And I also wanted to design my cocktails to where if people read it, or read the menu, or read the description, they would know what it is, or they can relate to it, because there's a lot of spirits out there that people just don't know. They're like, what is that? If somebody doesn't know, the likelihood of them ordering it or purchasing it is significantly lower than if they relate to something.
Yeah, if it's just something like citrus in it.
Right. Yeah. So my approach has always been 3 or 4 ingredients, and then I would try to those 3 or 4 ingredients where if I add bitters or syrup or something else, you make it. It's better quality.
A description, just one sentence that tells you what to expect.
Right. Right, because again, if you give people too many options, sometimes as well, they can't even decide. It's almost too much information.
Right.
I can't remember the actual phrase for that, but when you're designing certain things, it's
like the menu at the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh man, that's encyclopedia.
So many options.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
It's like they should rotate it every day or something.
Yeah. I can't only imagine. I'd like to know what their food cost is.
Right. Yeah.
And their waste.
How much they lose. Yeah.
Golly, man, that's their menu's gigantic.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Something a lot of people don't know about you is you're a proficient fighter.
Yeah, back in the day I was. That was a whole nother life. And again, growing up is one of those things that you see. You like. I got introduced to Bruce Lee movies when I was really young, and I always thought that was so cool. Being able to fight like him, and Chuck Norris, and in the 80s, you would see all the action movies, just Commando, Bloodsport, all that. And it was really cool, but there was nothing really around where I grew up that taught it. There was karate and taekwondo things, which was cool. And then I remember watching Kickboxer. The movie Jean-Claude.
Good
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. So I remember watching that. I was like, man, if there's ever a kickboxing instructor, that's what I want to do. I'd take that. And I was 14, and this guy, he actually grew up in High Point. Him and his wife moved back to Eden. Brent Pierce. He was a law enforcement. He was a cop out on the West Coast, San Jose, and he had trained out there. And actually, one of his coaches was Javier Mendez, which is one of the head coaches at AKA now, which is one of the most widely that's where Khabib Nurmagomedov trained. Yeah, Luke Rockhold, DC, those guys. He's one of the head coaches.
Wow.
Well, back then he was mainly just kickboxing, and just phenomenal coach. So he learned from him, and then when he opened up the gym here, he taught Taekwondo, but he had the kickboxing too. My sister and I were 4 years apart, so my sister being older, she had guy friends and other older people around. So she always had to tag me a lot. I always had to tag along with her, and she hated it. But her friends, some of the guys were taking the class. I was like, I want to take it. And I took it, and I loved it. And I was so awkward as far as going in there. I was starting to hit my growth spurt, being a teenager, 14, getting tall, goofy footed. I'd get hit. I'd fly back. I'd, cross my feet left and right. So about that time, UFC was starting.
Yeah.
So back then you could, I think the only way you could watch it was DirecTV because the legal ramifications of it, because they were getting, I think it was John McCain was involved with trying to say it was, a brutal sport.
We had to rent videos back then.
Yeah. So that's what it was. Come to find out, I think he was married to one of the heirs, or his wife had to do something with Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch. So that was, which was parlayed into boxing. And so it was some, things going on behind the scenes. Yeah. So it got, you had to watch it. So we got a Blockbuster, we rent the video. It's like, holy hell. And then there's one little guy, Hoist Gracie. And he just went in there and changed the game. He opened up the world's eyes to jiu-jitsu, specifically their form of Gracie jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that kind of took a foothold, and people realized, like, oh, okay, well, you can have a bigger guy, but a smaller guy can win by doing grappling, grabbing, going to the ground, locks, things like that. So my trainer Brent, he started learning the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and they would actually do a thing years ago where they would do a cruise, and the Gracie family would be on like a Carnival cruise ship, and you could you'd learn jiu-jitsu during the thing. So it was pretty cool because he had pictures of doing that, and one of the schools in Chapel Hill, Hillsborough area, a gentleman by the name of Greg Thompson, he started his own school, and then the gyms combined to form a gym called Team Rock. So they were one of the first ones in North Carolina that actually had Gracie black belts. And at the time, to be able to, get a belt ranking in that, you would have to have Hoist would come into town, and he'd stripe you or give you a new belt.
Oh, that's cool. Did you meet him?
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool, man, because I had pictures with him, and I showed my friends, and they always thought I was full of shit. I'm like, no, man, check it out, look. And it was, I had them with him. So Greg, the schools combined the one name, and so he had the location there. And then they actually did a lot of training with Special Forces, and at Fort Bragg area, so that was part of their thing. And now there's multiple schools throughout. There's some in Charlotte, Chapel Hill, Raleigh. I teach. So
did you get a black belt in?
No, I'm forever a blue belt, man, unfortunately. Back then when I was training to fight, it was all right, well, I'm not, my whole thing was, when we first started, you could still wear shoes, like wrestling shoes or whatever. And then when they changed the rules, like, hey, I always trained barefoot. It's like, well, how am I going to fight if I want to do this, I want to fight. How am I fight? Like, you're going to be barefoot. I was like, well, I'm not going to train in shoes. It's kind of, in my mind, it was pointless. Like, I may get a foothold in that, or I may get a better grip. I need to know what it's like. I don't want to be surprised. So I was always training barefoot. But we would do the gi work and everything, but I would always, I didn't fight with the gi. So I would just do the no gi training. Right. I want to slowly get back into the gi work, just because now being older, it's one way I can still compete. I still want to compete at a certain level, but I know I'm too old to be throwing punches in the face and everything.
Yeah.
The abuse I take on a basis when I train my guys that fight and everything else, man, I walk out there limping sometimes. I'm always hurt doing something. It doesn't take much. Recovering now being older is a lot different than when I was 20.
Yeah.
So it's a great workout, and it's something else too. Again, going through jiu-jitsu training, it's one of the best things that you can ever do as an adult, as a kid. I would say jiu-jitsu and wrestling. If you look at the numbers, there's more champions with backgrounds of wrestling than there is kickboxing, boxing, all that. If you look at the rankings, wrestling's right there number one.
Control, right?
Right, and because it's one of those things too, it's a one-on-one thing. You can have somebody that's not very physical, but they have the mind to look at things ahead of time and be relaxed. Learn how to control your emotions and do all that. That are just they're little nerd assassins, man.
Right.
It's great. So two, once you go through that, going through some dark places, training with somebody, knowing you can handle yourself, you actually have more confidence to be able to go about your life on a daily basis. Or if you see something, you're like, you know what, you're more aware of your surroundings, or you know how, possibly in your head how to handle something, and that makes you less likely to actually engage in a confrontation because you've been there before, and plus too, you get humbled on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
One of my favorite little things is some of the kids' classes. There's a couple young girls in there, and they're just murdering some of the boys. It's hilarious because they get this, the kids they'll go wide open sometimes, and you'll see them, and they'll throw them around and choke them out or get them an arm bar, and it's great to see because you see it's like, all right, well, you learn how to use your body, manipulate somebody else on their movements. This works. And if I have sons, but if I ever had a daughter, that would be the first thing I put her in. It's like, hey, you're going to do this. She may not like it, but she's going to go in there and she's going to do it so she can learn how to defend herself. And I'd like to see her be one of those, one of the little girls in there just throwing around other kids too. So be a proud dad moment.
Right,
but it's just protection wise, like I think that's one of the most important things you can ever do.
I got to train with Team Rock in Chapel Hill in 2009.
Okay.
2008 and 2009, end of 2008 into 2009. Not for long. I think it's across 2 years, but 2 numeric years, but it was really only 6-7 months. But it was, if I'm not mistaken, it's been so long. I can't remember if it was in the back of a gym, right off the UNC campus.
I think it was.
I can't, and they had. I remember artwork and stuff in the gym. I can't remember. It's been a while, but.
There's a
Reality of Combat, right?
Team Rock Reality of Combat. Yeah, that's it. And so there's multiple black belts within Team Rock too. So
I had a little guy, and I grew up fighting, but I had a guy that was probably, I think he was 135, that was tapping me.
Oh yeah,
I mean every week, religiously.
It's wild, man. Because again, once you learn how to control, and the biggest thing is people freaking out, and then just muscling. I used to always get in trouble with that. Actually, Hoist got pissed at me when I was young, when I was going for a belt because I was muscling something. But I was nervous. I mean, here's a walking legend in front of me, teaching and trying to stripe up. I'm trying to show out like, hey, I got this. And then I use my muscle, and I wasn't strong by no means. I was 155 pounds, but it was just, I muscled it to get it. It's like, I got in trouble for it. So if you learn how to relax more and not exhaust yourself and get all lactic acid and everything built up, you'll last longer. But at the end of the day, if we're equal and I'm stronger, you're losing. It's just that's just how it is.
Weight classes matter.
Yeah, it does, man. Definitely. Cardio and strength. But if we're equally, but I'm just stronger, I'm winning. That's just how it is.
We have it in this building, man. Some of our guys, because we're in the middle, right next door. You'll appreciate this. On the other side of this wall, there's a full size ring being built.
Oh, nice.
And there's heavy bags and all kinds of stuff. But we have some level, a very low level, but some level of boxing and MMA that takes place in the building regularly.
That's the thing.
I got a knockout video on the tile floor in there.
There's if you're around guys, it's just going to happen at some point.
Well, the weight class thing. So give a little shout out to Garrett out there, who tripped. His feet got tied up. He didn't get knocked out.
He slipped.
Yeah. But yeah, man, he's outweighed by 100 pounds. Plus the person he was sparring with, has has some experience, and so it just didn't go well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's amazing. Just a little bit of experience and basic knowledge and skills. Like the basics usually always win against somebody that doesn't know how. So that's always an interesting thing right there.
And then our other buddy Parker, because he's one of the youngest ones in the group up there, and so he's very confident.
He's trying to get after it.
But yeah, Parker's like my size but solid muscle, and Parker decided to put him down very gently on the tile and mount him from the top, and he's just slap him around a little bit, let him know he was there.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny actually. And Parker's been training. He was a bouncer, and Parker's been training off and on for
Tats.
Yeah, tatted
Yeah,
up.
I know who he is. Yeah.
And he's been training.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, big guy. Yeah. And that's who he was running his mouth to. And yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, again, the experience that the restraint that Parker showed with him.
A ton, yeah.
That's more scarier to me if I'm the one getting hit than somebody just wail on you, because you're getting hit, but this could end at any time.
Well, at the same time, too, if you got into a fight with somebody, I mean, you shouldn't get in fights with people in the public. It's very dangerous. You could easily die. But if you do, you want it to be somebody that's a professional, because you're less likely to get hurt worse.
Yeah.
If somebody's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, they'll stop you, but they're not going to just wail on you.
Nah,
they'll
probably put you to sleep real quick.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You'll pay a price, but I think it's
wake you up.
It's controlled.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were talking about a little guy tapping you out all the time. So
I've been religious.
So
because I'd try to he'd get on, and I know better. I grew up fighting. I know better than to try and extend my arm. I know better.
Take that arm.
And he took it. I mean,
you couldn't stop it
from all kinds of angles, man. Like I'd just be like, fuck me, man.
And see, I used to train there for a while. I was out in California, in San Francisco, at a place called Fairtex, and at the time that was one of the leading Muay Thai places in the world. You got Fairtex Thailand, you got Fairtex San Francisco. It's not Fairtex anymore due to certain events that happened in the past. But I'd go out there, and the coaches they were all Thai guys. So you had Jongsanan, which he was a legend. He had over 300 fights. Another guy named N Fairtex, he's like 115 pounds. Woodman, his nickname. He was just shins of steel. And then Ganyao, he was the heavyweight coach. I apologize. Johnson was he didn't. I don't think he had 300 fights. It was a gentleman named Bunkard. Bunkard had the over 300 fights. Little Thai guy. But Ganyao, everybody called him Big G. He was a 6'3" Thai guy. And he was my trainer, but he'd hold pads, move stuff. But we'd also get around spar, and then they get in there with us, and man, I wouldn't see stuff coming. I'd be limping around forever. These little guys were just lighting people up.
Yeah,
and it was just like it was nothing. They were just playing with you,
100%.
And that's the worst part.
Paul Sum in Asheboro used to kick the shit out. I don't know if you even know that, if you're familiar with that name or not, but I'd go to Paul's Muay Thai classes, and I mean I did that for a while, and again, I grew up a fighter.
Yeah.
Right? And then I got into Paul's, and, I had MMA. Paul's ground and pound, there was none. It was just straight Muay Thai. But, I made the mistake. I tapped him like 2 or 3 times. He wanted to roll with us. Mm-hmm. And he's, oh, you big boy, I'll break you. And I get up, and, I would take the shots, but, I mean, I would just have these massive bruises. Massive bruises,
and that's the thing, like, they were the nicest people too.
Oh yeah,
because
very
they brought you in. Their family, they have cookouts. They drink, but if you didn't drink, you had to drink with them. You didn't drink with them. At least with this group of people that I was with, they didn't look at you the same. So you drink, and it never failed, man. I'd leave limping, like they come up from behind you, kick you, and again, like I said, around here, sparring or whatever. My group of degenerate friends that I have, it's still do the same things, like dead kneeing people, leg kicking people, just you get older, but our minds never really change from that. It's certain things are still funny. It doesn't matter how old I am, it's still going to be funny. It's like the more, like with anything, if you can accept that fact of somebody, and I won't say accept it or overlook it, that's not the worst thing. But I'll never forget too. There was a guy out there I was training with. He was a heavyweight, and we were sparring and we were trading shots. And I remember I did a four. It was a combination I did. Back then there was a guy. It was an organization called K1. Kickboxer was named Ernesto Hoost, Mr. Perfect, and he had this beautiful combos: overhand right, left liver, overhand right, and leg kick. And I would watch it over and over. And I'd do it on the it was called banana bag, a 7-foot pole bag. I would do it over and over and over. And I had it set up on this heavyweight. And the first right I connected, I hit hard the liver, and then I just dropped down, I gave it a lot on the overhand right and leg kicked. And he kind of stood back. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is about to hurt bad, because my whole stomach dropped, everything. It's like, man, I just gave this dude almost everything that I got, and he's standing there and took it and didn't even face it. I was like, oh hell, man, this is going to be a bad day. So, but yeah, man, it's
you let him know you were there.
Yeah, I let him know. I paid for it. We'll put it this way: he stopped me with leg kicks, and my left leg was so sore and bruised for 3 days. If I'd get up, I'd have to pick up my leg like this right here and move. Even sit, if I had to use the bathroom, sit down, I'd have to sit down, hold up, and it was black. It was purple. It was awful. I was like, yep, that's leg kicks for you.
Yeah, man.
Doesn't stop.
No, man. I tried there for a while. I got probably like a 2-year window where I was like rolling my shins daily, and I'd take that jalapeno, whatever that
Yeah.
I don't know, Tiger Bomb, whatever the hell they call it, and I'd rub it in and I don't know that it actually did anything. It's supposed to deaden the nerves. I don't know. See, it smelled. Yeah.
See, where I grew up, and this is odd, but we had bamboo growing in my backyard when I was a kid. So when I started learning, I used to go kick bamboo. Like seriously, I was watching kickboxing and all these movies. Like, hey, it's cool, man. I don't have a banana tree, but I got bamboo. I don't kick this. I made the mistake of kicking the ones that were older, not the ones that are newer, because the ones that were already mature, they didn't split. So you'd have to get the ones that were growing, that were still green, and those you could kick those down. It'd be less impact on your shins. But I'd go back there and I'd be kicking bamboo with my shins, man. I'd just be going straight through it. I thought I was a little badass, but hey, it worked. I mean, I still got. I mean, the amount of scars I got on my shin today, like from here all the way down, and my lead leg is just. I mean, I can look at them and know exactly what I did and what time I did that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would do that. I thought I was in my own little movie.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But
yeah.
So what happens with these guys that, what is it? What's his name? Silva?
Mm-hmm. Anderson Silva,
or like what happened to Conor McGregor this past weekend?
Yeah. I think with Anderson, it may have been an age thing, and then the problem. It's not necessarily a problem; it's the evolution. You have people that started off fighting at whatever age they were.
Yeah.
They hit their peak and they learn certain things, and then there's kind of a point where those skills got them through everything, but now the young bloods are coming up. And they have added, the actual knowledge and training and actual technology of how to train and recover now is way different. Like when we were in high school growing up,
right?
There's scientific data behind it. There's heart rate monitors, all this. So now it's at the point where when I first started fighting and watching UFC stuff, I was 14 years old watching these guys.
Yeah.
Well, now you have this whole generation of fighters that are early 20s that grew up watching UFC since they were kids, and jiu-jitsu, and seeing the growth of everything. They're absorbing all this knowledge and we'll say new techniques or new ways to train, and they're just better.
Yeah.
They're getting better, and the same thing's going to happen to them.
It's like that with all sports right now.
Yeah, it's all sports, yeah. So, but
I think one thing about that is the ability you have to record something instantaneously and then immediately rewatch it.
Yeah, because again, like
on your phone or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have the ability to watch fights.
The correction rate is way faster.
Right. So you can rewind things, watch it. When we were coming up, you had to have a VHS tape, and no telling when that was. It could have been a year, 2 years old.
Right.
You're not, or you'd have to sit there and watch or try to sneak into a game, watch a practice, and try to absorb whatever you could. But now being able to watch it, slow motion, rewind it, slow motion, take notes, apply it. I mean, there's so much information out there that you can get that, man, it's as far as training wise goes, it's almost unlimited.
Yeah, I was really big into skateboarding when I was a kid, and the tricks that the guys do today would have seemed impossible back then. But I think it's because they can just immediately watch it over and over again,
Yeah.
see what their
Break it
mistakes
down.
are,
Yep.
and make instant corrections.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the training now is, hey, just keep going. You're hurt. You're not hurt. Keep going. The actual ability to recover and be able to get the readings off your heart rate and your food and everything else. It's more, again, science driven data behind it. It's like, hey, we don't need to do this. You don't need to train 100% every single day. Your body's going to break down. It's just
Yeah.
grow. That's how I came up. It's like you just keep going. Now there's certainly benefits of that as far as mentally what you're capable of, that I would most certainly agree with. But now knowing what I know now and being open minded to seeing how other people train and other athletes, like, okay, well, we need to implement this right here. Like what I was doing wasn't right. The ability to learn and relearn is very important instead of saying, oh, we've always done it this way.
Now, how many fights have you done as far as like events?
7.
Okay.
Yeah, 7. So
Now were any of those professional fights, or?
I never had. I was right there at the point of professional, but I was getting ready for one of my last fights that I had, and right before it, I was training. It was like 3 weeks out, sparring with a guy, and he was a bigger guy. I was doing another setup. I was setting it up because I knew he was kicking, so I feinted a kick, and I knew he'd counter. So he came with his rear leg to do a body shot. So I grabbed his leg, and what I was gonna do is like grab his leg, overhand right, throw his leg so he goes around, and then I'm gonna shoot in to the side, take down, and go that way. Well, what happened? He did kick. I caught it. Well, when I threw his leg, he kept going all the way around, and when I shot in, he was coming back up with his knee.
Oh.
And so I'm coming down, the force of me going down and him coming back up. I took a knee to the dome right here, and I came up and I popped up and I hit him with a cross, and it's like stop. It's like, look, man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you that hard. He goes, no, man, you're bleeding. I was like, what? And about the time he said that, I felt something hot going down my face, and I could smell it. The smell it. You can smell blood.
Yeah.
I could smell it. And he opened me up. It's like, all right, damn. All right, so that was that. Stitches. Started training again, running, doing road work. Rolled my ankle. It's like, you have me shit me right now, man. So, and I'd rather break my ankle than roll it. So healed from that. And then one day I woke up. I couldn't get out of bed. Like my back had seized up. I was like, man, this isn't good.
Just getting old, man.
Yeah, I was 24.
Oh, you're
Yeah, I was
still
24 years old.
What happened to your back?
So I think I actually have a degenerative disc in it,
I
but
have
they
the
would
same
say
thing.
it's what's it called? It was in the psoas and subluxation or something. I can't remember what exactly he said, but he worked it out and it got better. But the thing is, like, there's certain days I wake up now or I try to move, it almost feels like it gives out sometimes, the lower part. And I know the more I strengthen, the more I stretch out, it definitely helps. But
Sure, yeah.
it's weird. It's like, it's almost like you have your daughter. She jumps up and you go to grab her and it's outside of you. I can almost feel my lower back like give out. It's
Right,
like,
yeah.
dude, like I thought it'd be healed by now, but
So I have the same thing.
Yeah.
It's degenerative disc disease.
Mhm.
And when I was 17, I was in like weight class in high school, and we were playing basketball, and I could dunk the ball back then, and a friend did a little alley oop for me, and I dunked it, and when I landed on my left heel, and it was like an electrical pain went from my lower back all the way to my foot. It was like
Yeah.
a knife, but it just went all the way down,
yeah,
and I just fell and I couldn't get up, and that's when I found out I had a bad disc in my lower back. I had to go get an MRI and stuff, and
yeah,
and it never was really an issue until a few years ago, because it gets worse, and all the heavy lifting I did for years definitely didn't help. And I found out I had 4 degenerative discs in my lower back. The bottom 4 discs were degenerative. The bottom was the one that really causes me problems because it pushes on one of the on the left nerve, which causes a problem on my left leg. But
I'll feel the same thing every now and then.
yeah, so there's there's some newer procedures using stem cells and PRP and
I was about to say, like, I've started looking at, was it Bio in Panama? Dr. Neil Reardon.
You can do that too. I went to New York to RSI
Mm-hmm.
and Regenerative Sports.
Now, the difference, though, is in the States and overseas is the actual stem cell cultures. Is that right? As far as
I think so.
because
They
they
can
can
do more
actually
stuff in Panama.
Yeah.
Didn't one of our partners, girls, go to Panama? Wasn't it like 25 million? I vaguely remember them going overseas.
I don't. Those procedures aren't that expensive.
No, 25 million stem cells.
Oh, stem cells. Yeah, that's
My
probably
apologies.
right.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah, I've actually
Probably the same
yeah
thing,
because
yeah.
if you look at it, the athletes, like professional athletes, they don't do it in the States.
They go to Panama. Yeah.
They go to Panama or Germany or somewhere else.
There's a lot of
because
celebrities go there too.
yeah, because it's I don't know if it's because of politics and religion involved with umbilical cord stem cells, and I don't know if that,
They don't use umbilical stem
They don't?
cells.
Okay.
No, because they call it tumors.
Okay, I
I mean
didn't
not
realize that.
umbilical. Fetal stem cells.
Okay.
'Cause fetal stem cells cause tumors and stuff, but they can use umbilical ones.
Okay.
But I think those are good. But the PRP and fibrin. So the first time I went up to New York, they did stem cells and they harvested them out of my marrow, my bone marrow, and then they used stem cells and PRP. And they treated all 4 discs. A year later, I had an MRI done. The top disc was normal. It regenerated.
Yeah.
The other 3, the 200 that looked pretty good. The bottom one was still bad, but was better than it was.
Right.
And then I had a second treatment done. Then that was just PRP and fibrin. Fibrin's a cadaver material. It's almost like a spongy type material or fibrous material.
Right.
It'll kind of expand the disc a little bit, and that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
That was successful. If I have to get it done again, I'll probably go to Panama.
Yeah, I've been looking at that too, because if I want to go up under the knife, I'm good with. I know it's expensive, but looking at hey, if I got to borrow money to do it, I'll do that. But I'd much rather do that and seeing what it does now, where it actually does
Regenerate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing what's going on down there. You're seeing it's becoming more and more popular, and more people are being aware of it, and what they can do to, just heal you is pretty amazing.
Well, in Germany, you can have they have really good disc replacement surgeries. They can do it here too. It just got approved a few years ago, but it's just more expensive here. It's a lot more expensive here, and it's also more restrictive. Our medical laws are weird in the U.S.
Well, that's why I said, if I ever go, I'm going to go to Panama. If I'm going to do that with the stem cells and everything, I'm going where the athletes go. That's where UFC athletes get. They ship them off down there.
Yeah.
So it's a reason they're going down there.
Well, you start seeing billionaires go down there. That's
yeah.
They're
Plus,
not
it's
gonna
Panama
waste
Papers, so there's all that,
Yeah. So I got to ask you now, since you brought up UFC, and we've been talking a little bit about fighting, and I was at the UFC fight, at the Conor fight this last weekend. I'm still tired. I literally slept, other than last night, so as of yesterday, I had slept 13 hours since Friday morning when I woke up. So I'm just dragging, right? But I was there for the fight. First one UFC fight I've ever gotten in person. But I was looking Conor basically dead on in the face. I don't know if you watched the fight, but where Steve-O was sitting, I was 5 seats behind Steve-O basically.
Okay.
So, but at the angle when his leg basically broke, whatever, when he planted it down and it bent, I was looking at him dead on, right? So I saw his face, but when I looked down, it looked like his shin was on the ground, and that's why it had folded, right?
Yeah.
But so from the angle I saw it, I knew something was up, and the guy that was with me, I was like, man, I think his leg's broke. I said, his foot's like something's off. And he said, no, because in person we didn't see it. Like we didn't.
It's the angle.
Yeah, it was the angle, and then he, and I saw a look. I was like, nah, man, I'm telling you, something's up.
Done.
And then obviously it took about, I don't know, in person it took like a good 15 seconds. He's there. He's to really figure out that he kept pointing his leg like, okay, it's broke. Something's up. But anyway, to speak about that is, I wonder if Conor's going to be in Panama. Do you think he can come back from it? And if so, you think 12, 18 months? You think he'll come back from that? I'm just curious as a fighter. You have any opinion on that? He's made $200 million. I don't know that
it's hard.
250.
It's hard to say. don't know the guy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to say. It depends on where he wants, but man, you sleep in silk sheets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he came up strong, and again, like watching him fight, he brought so much attention to it. You know,
Yeah.
fighters should be. They are thanking him for like more pay and everything. That's a whole different conversation.
I agree.
Right there with the pay and everything. But
Yeah.
Dustin will fight him again. Dustin even came out and said, "Yeah, I make more. I don't need to fight for a title belt when I'm making this money with Conor." He goes, "I'm getting paid way more doing this for a non-belt fight,
Yeah.
non-title belt fight with Conor than I am actually fighting for the belt."
Right.
It's pretty disgusting, man. Because that goes to show you right there that could ruin a career for anybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's so hard when you have your whole life is that, and then it's just gone just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So you got to make the most money you can as quick as you can, because it can end at any given time.
Yeah. Well, Anderson Silva never really came back after he broke his leg.
But I think that was an age thing too
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
his prime. I think Conor's 31 or 2. I can't
don't know.
remember
Still
now.
pretty young.
Yeah, I mean he's
His DMs still work though.
yeah.
Your wife's in my DMs.
It's
I was laughing.
It's man.
He's still selling the next fight. Literally.
Oh yeah,
He's still selling the next fight. It's coming.
Well, Poirier even said, "Yeah, we'll fight again."
Yeah.
It's just a matter of him training. You know,
Yeah.
the coaches, is he being enabled with all the money and everything else? I mean,
How much damage is done to that leg too?
Well,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I was
Tendons
worried
does he
about
need to
it.
go Rocky style? You know, when he fought
Yeah.
Drago and just go in, a cabin.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, I was worried about his legs anyway because he's had a few fights where especially his most recently, where he's had his legs beat to shit.
yeah.
And then
That's always been my fear. My
yeah,
biggest fear in my head is that happened to my shin.
yeah.
Oh.
It's terrifying to think that
Well-
that can happen.
And I got to say, and I get it. I think people sometimes UFC kick really hard, right? Like they over too much power, and I don't think you
Adrenaline.
need. Yeah, and I mean, and it's like Conor was. I got to tell you, and I don't know, man. I've not rewatched it, but in person, I felt like he was really putting up a solid. I mean, yeah, he ended up on his back, but I mean that's life. But I mean, I
think
felt,
he ended up on that. Again, I have to watch it again, but if my memory could be dog shit right now. But he ended up that way because I think he felt that something was off.
I think so.
And he had to do that
Yeah.
because he felt something was off. Like his footwork. That's his whole thing's movement and footwork.
Yeah.
So if that weapon's taken away from you, that you're gonna have a bad night. And Poirier is a phenomenal boxer.
No, he is.
Joe Rogan posted a video a couple days ago. It was a cell phone video that somebody had taken. It was really good. It was like a perfect angle, and you could see Conor when he kicked it at Poirier. He checked it with his elbow,
Dude,
and it
that-
right on the bone.
I'll go and tell you right now.
And it looked
I've
like
had
that's
that
when it
happen.
broke.
I've had that happen before. Right there on the elbow and the knee. I've had shin go to that, and I've had. Luckily, I've had pads on them. Pads I use actually use Onyx Labs pads, and they're phenomenal. But man, you can feel it through the pad, and it's like taking a hammer, hitting a hammer to your shin. It sucks. I mean, it just kills it. So if you didn't have that pad in there, that's bone on bone. That's rough.
Yeah.
But I would also too. Background, I would actually aim for joints too when I fight, because learning from the guys and the Thai guys and everything, we would learn like, all right, hey, break his arm. Like, what are you talking about? Break his arm. Aim for the hinge. Like if they're that arm will come down. So if they're holding it, you'll aim for this because it's a hinge. Like you can break that. And there were multiple times like derby fights. Like one of the guys was named Armando. He did 2 guys like that, and he'd aim for it, just whack, just come up and come straight into it. He wouldn't try to turn the hip around. He'd just come straight up and hit that. It's a weak spot, and it dropped down. Some guys would feel it and they wouldn't be able to continue, but he did do that with one guy broke, and then head kick knockout the other time because he's holding it, and then it's gone, and now you're here, so you have that whole side
Two
open.
kicks.
Yeah, so same thing. Like if you're close up and you're in the pocket, you hit that, you're gonna naturally just kind of roll it inside,
Yeah.
and you can go up top. So, but yeah, it's I've felt that before with pads, and the guys I was going with, I wasn't intentionally doing that, but when I'd fight, I would. I mean, I was mean. I'm really nice. I'm calm about everything, but I knew that I had to to win. This was a fight. I got to be mean. Like I gotta do things I would normally never ever think I would want to do ever, and I would do that. So that's what I would do. I would aim for things like, hey, it's either you or me. Like there's a gentleman's agreement right here going on. You signed up for this. I signed up for this. I'm walking out. Like, I don't want to be the one pummeled. So I got to do it to you before you do it to me.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, that's just different mindsets for different people. But that was mine. It's like, all right, I got to be mean, and I gotta do what I got to do to win this, and I don't want this thing drug out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hitting that hinge or going hitting that bone, man, it's nasty. It's nasty. I had one of the guys fighting this weekend, Tommy. This was last fight camp before May. It happened to me. Like he checked and I hit the knee. I mean, I was done. After that. I couldn't. It's like, all right, man. I couldn't even hold pads for the week after because even when I put my leg down, it was just sore. And if it's compromised. Yeah. So it's like, and again, in my head, it's like, man, I'm lucky that thing didn't just snap.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, as far as him coming back, that's
gonna be his drive, or
he'll come back for Poirier. Then depending on what happens with that, like I'd like to see him. If he wins,
I wish he knew how to submit. So I'm gonna tell you. Yeah. So there was like 3,000-1, but one of the guys had me lay a bet for him, and it was that Conor was gonna submit first round, and he never submits. Obviously, it was like 3,000-1, and I bet $400 for the guy.
Hey,
so so over $100K. And there was 2 submission potential attempts.
And you're going nuts.
And I'm going nuts, man. I'm jumping up and down. The guys with me, we're going crazy. And I'm like, it becomes blatantly obvious that Conor doesn't know. I mean, he just doesn't. He's just not a submission guy.
There's just levels, man.
What he has is just not enough, especially against who he was against. But I don't know, man. I was like, man, Conor, if you could have just worked on this one thing.
Well, it's hard too. I mean, like once you get to a certain level too in your training, you can always learn better. But
well, those guys are so they're so good and at such a level with the game that their bodies are autonomous. So it's almost like they're subconsciously fighting each other.
And muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like, so let me ask you this: since you're in person, how fast is it when you're in person watching it? As far as the punches, and
much
everything?
faster. Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah,
like you'll do things, and even
the whole vibe. Like this is the first time I've ever watched the UFC. I've been to fights in person.
Yeah,
and like local things, and I've definitely sparring, and then and inside of circles on mats and doing that thing. But the whole vibe was so much. Actually, I enjoyed it so much that I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy watching the fights from home.
Yeah,
it's
hard.
Way.
Like again, I don't know what you're doing this weekend, but in Myrtle Beach, Derek Brunson, UFC guy, he's doing a fight. My guy's fighting out this Saturday, Ultimate Battlegrounds in Myrtle Beach. So it's kind of cool with him because it starts early. He's doing like jiu-jitsu stuff early, and then he has some amateur stuff, and then the pros fight and everything else starts at 4:00. So it's all pretty much all day thing. But Derek Brunson, I got the opportunity to meet him, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. We get there, he's moving around, like picking up chairs, moving chairs around the ring. We're like, hey, you need help? Like, no, I got it. He's cool. He's just doing his own thing. So I had three people that fought back in May, and now they're doing it again this time. But one of the guys was new. He had never fought before, a young guy named Dylan. And, I take him out to the ring. It's like, hey, get the feel, get your distance, you're tall, find out how many steps it takes to get across the ring, get to the middle. Everything gets real tight, real fast. Like, you got to be aware. I was going through the whole thing like, hey, this is what you're experience. You can go in there, your legs may feel like concrete. You may have an adrenaline dump. I said, that's fine. I was going through the whole process. So he fights. He goes out there, and I train with these guys, and when they spar, there's definitely obviously sparring in the gym, everything. Don't want to hurt anybody, but between him and the other guy, Tommy had a pro fight. He's my pro guy. Even for me watching them, even being ringside, looking up, calling out things, I was actually there for a while. Like, holy hell, man! Like, they are throwing.
Yeah, man.
It's like, holy shit! Like, you're a lot faster than like. Where the hell did this come from?
Yeah.
Like you realize it's always been there, but then when you're locked in and you're watching it happen, it's just totally different. It's like, dude, the amount of speed, like you go to any professional sports event or anything else, it's just different.
Yeah.
And be able to see it and see, people
the
grew up with.
slows it down. I feel like
There's some, yeah, because even like if you go to a football game, you see him run, you're like, damn, like that's that's speed.
You see the power.
Yeah, you see everything. So you know, watching these guys throw, it's amazing. Tommy, he won his from a knockout, and it was a beautiful setup too. Like he came in, got him overhand, and then we'd worked a couple drills. You know, it was one of the drills. It's just over and over and over, but he's at the point now to where he's flowing on his own. So I can't take credit for any of that. I just hold pads. But the way he's moving around now and throwing and still adjusting everything to where now it's not a hesitation for a lot of things. This was a fight that it really clicked. And he got the guy overhand and then came in, and the guy went to the right. I told him, hey, he goes to the right, throw it. You know, he's going to go into a kick. Hit him. But from my angle, it looked like a kick. And then when we see cell phone videos come out later, he was so close, he came up and hit the guy. It actually hit him with his knee, came up, and he was like, the guy locked up, and he was falling to the ground for the knockout like that.
Wow.
And afterwards, like, I remember this, and it's like, it's the repetition of everything.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the keep it simple, stupid thing. It's like, hey, these things work. There's so much stuff out there, but it's just the drilling of everything else. And, you know, once you know, hands or feet or anything else start flying, you just go.
Yeah. Well, they've done some studies on this stuff too, and they've shown, like with anything, whether it's fighting or music or whatever, when you do something repetitively enough and it becomes subconscious, it's really it's a reflexive thing. So these guys are reacting faster than they're even aware of it.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes.
Yeah, there was it Discovery that had that show Fight Science where it showed them they're hooked up. It showed everything, like the neurons and everything firing, and the amount of power people could generate. But yeah, once you start doing things, it's just natural. The girl Grace that fights, she's turned 21. She's fighting again this Saturday too, and watching her, you know, I've never seen somebody more calm, you know, in any kind of situation. Like, she just has this, you know, state of mind when you look at her, it's like, what's going on? Like, it's so calm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, the hardest thing's like hearing other things, but, you know, she listens. She's on her way up too, but man, she is so calm in a situation to where she's most compromised that even people that I've seen train for years don't reflect that or don't have that calm about them to be able to handle situations.
Strong mind.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's funny because she's gonna get mad at me. She always looks angry, but she'll smile, and she's like, that's just how she is. But you know, she's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the younger guy Brock, he's 14, so they're doing amateur fights. So he's actually fighting. His dad was one of the guys that fought too. So this is his like first fight. So the rules are stand up, you know, you can throw, just no knees or elbows to the face, and then once it goes to the ground, there's no ground and pound jiu-jitsu stuff. So he's, I think there's like either 12-1 or 1-2 when they start this Saturday. But yeah, it's an all day thing. So I'm excited for him. His dad, like their whole family's in it. He's got brothers and sisters, all of them are in there. And that's again, like one of the little girls that's in there is just wrecking the other boys, which is great. But yeah, they just all do it. They always show up every day, man. It's pretty amazing because I was talking, the lady, the family that owns the gym now is, Tommy and Connie, Quasi, they own it. So I became really good friends with them. It was one of the things I started back teaching when Gavin was a little bit older, and it was like it helped me out as far as mentally. I was going through some stuff, so I got back in the gym, and you know, it's therapy for me. But we text almost every day, and she sent me something last night. Little town of Eden, 3 people fighting, going to Myrtle Beach, and during these times, right? Over 100 tickets sold for these 3 people that are fighting, that people are going to support them. I mean, it's amazing. Like, again, the community around it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
100 people from a small town that's not that, the economy's not that great.
It's an economically depressed area.
Right. So for them to be able to do that, afford the tickets to go down there, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, again, small town thing. Like, I don't even know if I have 100 people that if even I thought would go to Myrtle Beach, they're like, I'll watch it. Like, I don't even think that would happen here, honestly.
Right.
Or, people that would go, like, yeah, we'll go and maybe not show up. But over 100 people that's just that she knows of that have bought tickets from her that at the gym. I mean, it's beautiful to see. It's awesome. People come and, support each other. And, again, small town, it's great.
Yeah. How many times have you been knocked out?
Once.
Okay.
And it was with a guy that I actually trained with. Most of the injuries are in the gym, and I remember it was we were going at it, and I remember I was in front of him, and next thing I know, it was like a light switch, black. Then I came back, and he ended up hitting me with either a cross or a hook, but man, he had heavy hands, and he was a monster. Like, there's naturally strong people that you meet.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys, like, barely lifted weights, but he was just naturally strong.
Tough.
Yeah, he had that power. Like, that power's, you can train for it, but then there's people that just have, like Deontay Wilder. He's got that hand of God, in his hand. And it doesn't stop. It could be any given round. It's just there that he has it. And then as far as, like, choked out and everything else, man, I can't even tell you how many times that's happened. But yeah, man, it's choked out. Like, I'm not tapping on that, man.
Yeah.
So, because it's really, you're not gonna really get hurt. It's like, how long you can last or go. But that's the thing, when it happens, it's quick. You just, and other times too, I've just passed out from being in a mounted position. Somebody try to give me a guillotine or something else, and I pop out and I come up too fast, and just that rush of blood and everything, it's just, roll over. But yeah, that was the only time that's happened. But it's I'm not saying I hadn't got my bell rung or just like being on my legs out from up under me, but fortunately that was the only time. But just beat on, can you get beat on? It just happens.
Yeah. Did you see? I'm almost positive it was Deontay, where this guy was talking crap about Deontay's family, and he went up there and beat his ass. I didn't really beat his ass.
What's his? I know.
I know what you're talking about.
It's a white guy, Charlie something. This guy's notorious. He'd film pictures like hand somebody boxing gloves and start beating the hell and like dude. And then he was doing it.
Yeah.
And he was trying to say no, I'm done. And he was keep on going after him about it. I was like, man,
that guy's insane though.
Yeah, there's something.
Way off.
Yeah, he's off the reservation.
Yeah.
He should be in a padded room somewhere.
Yeah, he's off the reservation on that one, just going to certain places and doing it. And I think too, there's actually a video with him and Floyd Sr. boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Floyd Sr. just taking it and giving it to him, talking shit to him the whole time.
I think there's a video with I think he goes into an MMA gym or something and fights a guy and gets beat up really bad.
Yeah. I think that is the same guy, but
he should be institutionalized though.
Yeah,
He's
that's
crazy.
all kidding aside. That's a danger because if he's doing that, again, small percentage of people ruin it for everybody. That goes across almost everything.
Well, he's just assaulting people though.
Yeah. I never thought. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He's just doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and see the ones that can't fight, sometimes they have guns, and then you got ones that have guns and they can fight, and I'm just sitting here going,
That's the older I get too, it's like, I know certain people look at things certain ways, but I believe in protecting yourself and whatever that entails.
If you see me breathing, there's a very good chance I got a gun on me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean it's
just in case, and I can defend myself. I grew up fighting. I mean, the confidence to be able to defend myself keeps me from pulling it artificially. If I'm going to pull it, I'm going to shoot somebody. Like, it's being pulled for a reason.
Yeah, you're trained with it, so that's a big difference too. So I mean, I don't really understand the open carry thing. That's kind of dumb to me.
I think open carry makes absolutely zero sense because you're literally a target. You're the first person.
I see it.
If I'm a criminal and I'm coming in and I know you've got a gun, I'm taking you out first.
Yeah,
it's like that with schools and stuff too. I mean, I think my daughter's school, they have a lot of undercover officers there, which is great because you don't necessarily. I mean, I guess you need a
presence,
an officer with a uniform, but that's a target too. So if you're really trying to protect people, the undercover thing is
like was it SROs?
Plain clothes.
Yeah. So their school resource, they're there as a deterrent for the most part because it's not going to be as much as a soft target per se. So if you have that, it's like you may think twice about it. If you're crazy, you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But that's a thing. I can't remember. We were actually talking about this Sunday. I had some people over my house, some of my friends, and we were talking about like if I'm not against having military you're already serving now. There's so many people that'd be willing to do that. That'd be grateful to do that, to be able to do that, because a lot of people have families. They don't want anything to happen to their families.
Yeah.
But then you get a whole conversation about, well, we shouldn't have this, or like, we shouldn't, but hey, we're here. So let's protect our most important resources with our children. So we already have the military. We already have these people, whether it be National Guard or I don't know the answer, but I know there's plenty of people that would want to do that are trained. And what you want to have trained people.
Yeah.
And that's what you have.
Yeah.
These people train nonstop.
Yeah.
So just having that there, I mean, that could solve a lot. Again, that's my own opinion, but
There's not a lot of money in that.
no, it's not. Yeah, good point. But we're already, again, it's not a lot of money in it, but they're already being paid as soldiers now, whether it be, National Guard or active or whatever role that they have.
Right.
Again, just having a deterrent. I mean, and we have people that are highly trained.
I mean, fortunately, violence overall is way down. But But as far as these shootings and stuff, it's sort of like a phenomenon of this time. Like the school shootings and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll find some resolutions for that too.
Yeah, that's
Because that's a scary one. It's just unpredictable, and there's no reason behind it.
Yeah, it's because you don't know, it could happen any place, any time, and that's the scariest part.
Terrifying,
And again, being prepared. You want to be prepared for something, but you don't necessarily want to sending your kid to school that this could be a possibility.
Right.
That this could happen.
Yeah, sure.
So, and it's usually the ones that are unhinged that have something that triggers that.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's not end on that note.
No. Let's not end on that. Anyway, fights this weekend.
In Myrtle Beach. Yeah.
That's right, Myrtle Beach.
Where can people check out your mobile bar?
So website, properpourevents.com. Social media is just Proper Pour Events on Instagram. I try to post 3 or 4 times a week, just certain things that we're doing. I have links, photos, information. A lot of things, private events, a lot of weddings. This year's been nuts because restrictions being lifted, which is good. But yeah, I mean, we have the options of that. Phone numbers on there so you can reach out to me. So I can have staff member, either myself and staff member or other staff members do the event for you. But the beauty about this is we can do almost anything. If you want to have a private event or, hey, we really like, bourbon. All right, bourbon. All right, you know what? Hey, these are really good things. Let's do a taste test. Let's pair it with cigars. The sky's the limit on certain things that you can do where you can't do it, where you may not be able to do it in a restaurant or bar type environment if you wanted to rent out a space. So having the ability to do that and pick out what you want and still be cost effective is an advantage that that we can provide for the service. And then having, again, custom cocktails that you like, wine, beer. I mean, it's like, you like, if you like bourbons, like, all right, which ones do you like? What flavor, which one did you have last time that you really liked? Oh, okay. Well, I liked, Blanton's. Okay. Blanton's, that's a wheated bourbon. You know what? I think, this would, these 3 right here would be good. Let's give the option of this and let's do a cocktail for you. And again, it's the option thing. You don't want to offer too much because, hey, we're going to have a cocktail for Neil. We're going to have one for his wife. We're going to have a his and her cocktail, or we're going to have these 3. That's it. And then everything else is kind of have at it. But, I get a lot of positive feedback from it. And it's good for me because most of the time when I'm going to these places, everybody's happy. People aren't coming in with bad attitudes. I mean, people aren't, it's nice to be able to socialize with people and just, again, see other people, meet people you never meet before, talk to them, see what they're about.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing for me because the more I'm out there, the more I realize the things that I see going on. When I'm talking to people, it's not an issue. Like most people are pretty happy as far as, getting together, doing things and aren't divided. I hate to say it, but bar brings people together.
Yeah.
Food and drink brings people together.
Yeah.
So, and this is one of the things that brings people together and everybody have a good time and leave on a happy note.
Yeah,
Right,
I agree.
So,
Awesome, dude. Well,
yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
it's been a pleasure having you on,
Thank you.
man.
Thank
And and be sure to follow Proper Pour Events on social media and follow his website. And if you need to hire him for an event, then he's awesome.
Yeah,
So I
send
can
us
vouch
email
for him.
or send us a DM.
Yep.
We respond pretty quickly. So
Oh, you and Connor.
yeah, hey man, got to get that clout.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.